Hello viewers, my name is Eric and welcome to another video showcasing some of my SketchUp designs, and today we'll be looking at this, which is my design for a sort of scientific space fighter we can expect to see in the near future if space ever becomes a war zone, which is unlikely, but hey, what do you know? So these are based on fairly modern technologies, obviously inspired heavily by my by my experience with KSP. And what it basically is, it's a single-seater fighter obviously without things like gravity, and it's based on conventional propulsion and weapon technology. So let's take a look at the basic design. So basically, the design consists of a single cruise engine, so to speak, that operates at relatively high efficiency, but low thrust. This is for getting places, and of course, these fighters are all assumed to be already in orbit, so they won't be able to make orbit on their own, obviously, and they will have relatively low amounts of delta V, but they're intended for short-range missions, since you can't really live in a tiny cockpit. And it also has a lot of RCS ports. Like the slimmer version has these 4 RCS blocks, which provide some maneuverability. And in space, I think space warfare is all about maneuverability, because you can't, like, it's all about that delta V, the change in direction, because you can't, like, if you've seen those I suppose video games where missiles can somehow track enemy aircraft as well as they do in atmosphere, but in space it doesn't work that way, because we don't have atmosphere in space, so things like fins and stuff don't work so well on missiles. So I suspect that in the space age, missiles will just be accelerated large amounts of payload delivered at an intercept course towards the enemy without any course corrections, and it's just accelerated by using up all the solid fuel, I guess, inside the missiles, and it just flies off. But so yeah, this is, again, I haven't rehearsed this in any way, so this is gonna be a bit unrehearsed. So what I envision is that the fuel tanks will carry a limited amount of fuel for the cruise engine, and then we'll obviously have some RCS fuel as well. Although it would be kind of nice if conventional, I don't know, again, I'm not a engineer in any way. I don't have like a degree in any of this. This is not even real science. It's just pseudoscience. It's designed for an atmosphereless environment, so there are no aerodynamic things here. Although it is like the slim version, it's still it still tries to maintain a small amount of hitbox. I don't know how to call it, but a small amount of area so that you could dodge incoming projectiles easily. And as you can see, this cockpit isn't really an open cockpit. It has 2 side windows that are reinforced, obviously, but it isn't an open cockpit. Instead, it relies on cameras, which we can try to find the positions. Cameras, there are 2 rotatable cameras here and here, and then there are 2 cameras here, probably able to provide some kind of 3D view, I don't know. And then obviously these 2 cameras are fixed right on the large caliber cannon, which is smack dab in the center, so that the kickback of the firing of the cannon doesn't just blow the fighter away to lose control. And as you can see, we have missiles, 4 missile ports. This thing carries about 28 missiles. I'm not sure how much thrust each missile can carry, but I expect it to be quite a lot. I'm not sure again. And this larger version has a ton of extended fuel tanks, and each of these fuel tanks have much more RCS ports. So the idea is that even though it's larger, it also has more fuel and more RCS, so it should be more maneuverable. And it also has RCS on both the front and the back, so that it's more symmetrical of a control. And again, I'm not exactly sure how good that will work out. And we also have cameras on the top here, which we aim down the sights. For aiming down the sights, we have two tiny calibered machine guns for anti-personnel, and I suppose anti-personnel actions. We have one on the top and one on the bottom. These are tiny caliber guns, less than 2 centimeters in diameter. I forgot what the exact dimensions are. These are of course constructed in the anyway. So basically the camera view just aims from here and then you fire away, obviously taking into account trajectory and all that shit. The reason I didn't use an open cockpit design, because I believe that a open cockpit design isn't really practical for space. Like space isn't exactly favorable towards open cockpit. Like if you have an open cockpit and, for example, a projectile comes towards you, like it will kill you. A hole in the cockpit will kill you, and you don't want any holes in the cockpit at all. So you can't really have an open cockpit with glass that is more fragile and brittle than non-glass. So yeah, this is designed entirely around a computer-controlled system. Obviously, I envisioned this to use a lot of computer technology to for its targeting, etc. And as you can see, compared to a person, it is this big. It's about the extended version is about 6 meters in length and 3 meters in width. Yep. While the smaller version is about 1 meter in width and also 6 meters, actually more than 6 meters in length, actually. And I'm not exactly sure how they would be docked, but with a space station, which would sort of logically be where they would launch from. But I suppose you could just hook it up with some kind of like some kind of rope or something, some tether or something. Yeah. So as you can see, I've textured this cockpit to be heavily reinforced by metal so that it isn't easily penetrated. And I suppose we could also have life support systems in the excess amount of space that isn't taken up by anything else. And the cockpit again is just one of those simple things. Simple doesn't really mean anything. Although I suspect that I suppose that even though screens are nice, but you could actually use VR. I don't know if the cameras are calibrated properly. And you obviously, like, another thing against open canopy designs is that you're not gonna track like a ship coming in from like even 5 miles away with your like own eyes if things are shaped this small, or if you're targeting like a guy in an EV suit, you're not gonna track him with your eyes. No, you're gonna use electronics. You're gonna use equipment. You're gonna use magnification on cameras. So there's really no point in having an open canopy. And besides, you get all this extra space, and you're protected much well protected, and that's something. So, also in regards to the computer equipment, I suppose like these things could have some kind of integrated kickback compensation that that will maintain its bearing and velocity after firing a weapon. And of course, another feature that I think would be useful, although I'm not sure if it could actually be implemented, is because I want obviously these ships, like maneuverability is going to be one of the key things you are looking for in a ship. So I want like there to be a feature where they could, since these missiles are basically ships of their own with basically fuel tanks with an engine strapped on, right? So I want a feature where you could divert. Obviously, if it's solid fuel, then it's not going to be doable. But otherwise, I want a feature that you could just divert the fuel from your missiles to your fuel tank in case you need, or maybe sort of like an extra boost or something. So if you need an extra bit of maneuverability, you just divert fuel away from the missiles, maybe even RCS fuel, I don't know, away from missiles into your propulsion systems, and then you can just cruise away. And in some situations where there's lots of maneuvering, because like honestly, if space fighting games, they actually had a count of fuel, and the fuel consumption was realistic, sort of like, or at least semi-realistic, then maneuverability would be a big issue, because the more maneuverable your ship is, the more fuel you're using. So you would want every single bit of fuel you want. So if you had to cannibalize one of your missiles, then you should just use up the missile and then eject it out the front, and it could act as a very slow moving missile, or some kind of just waste or something, orbital waste or something. And let's see, let me try finding something else to talk about. So yeah, these RCS blocks, obviously I didn't really take any time to model them out properly, but you get the idea. They're like I don't know how many ways, 6-way, 3-way. Anyway, they basically allow strafing in all directions. And as for controls for a spaceship, I suppose that a good control system would be 2 joysticks. The left one, the first joystick for strafing, like up, down, left, right, forwards, backwards, and then the second one for rotations, and second joystick for rotating. For example, top, up, down, just maneuvering. Rotating your ship for maneuvering, like for yaw, roll, and pitch, obviously. So one joystick for strafing, another for yaw, roll, and pitch. And you could actually, I don't know, you could even revert back to you could even use pedals for forward and backwards RCS actions. Like you could use pedals for forwards thrust with RCS, and then brakes, and then you use the throttle for the cruise engine. You know, if there are actually throttles on spaceships, I'm not really sure again. So yeah, this is an X-ray view of the model. It's not much, since it's still a cheap SketchUp model, and but it is detailed. ish. So as you can see, and I've actually counted the missiles. So one of these things could hold 28 missiles. So that is a lot of missiles. And I'm not sure, but perhaps something like this could even deliver some kind of orbital bombardment, like if you just point your missiles towards Earth and at the right moment in orbit, and you just send the missiles down, and then if they survive the orbital re-entry, and you could deliver some kind of like stealthy orbital strike or something, since missiles are so tiny. Like but then again, these missiles don't seem to be made for space, since I made them just tubes without any aerodynamic considerations. So yeah, this is my oh yeah, also for this, I think because when I designed this, I thought that RCS could be modified to just be regular thrusters. But then you know how like thrusters have to be ignited, have to go through ignition just like regular vehicles and such, so you can only ignite something for a limited amount of time. But since like how you ignite your car, and even though it's still using some fuel, even though it's not moving, so that's basically what you do with the RCS if you make it run on actual I don't know what you call it, actual engine systems. So you just run it at a very low amount of thrust to keep it running, but of course that will massively drain up your fuel supply. But still, it will, I suppose, be more efficient that way. And of course, we have all this empty space for life support, like as I've stated already. And this is something that, and even though I have no idea what space combat would actually be looking like, but a space fighter that we could see in the near future would pretty much look something like this. It would just be a rocket with high amounts of designed for maneuverability and short ranges. So it will have, so even though it will have fuel enough to get from here to, I don't know, Saturn, but it won't have enough supplies. So it will generally be designed for maneuverability in mind, so that and a dogfight would be, I suppose, really different from what dogfights are. Like even now in missiles, all you do when like if you're a fighter pilot and you have an incoming missile, all you do is drop countermeasures and then you fly the other way. Like you turn the other way really hard. So it's not really a test of getting behind the other guy, shooting him in the back, but rather a test of just moving out of the way of the incoming projectile at the right moment, but with the added condition of having enough fuel to do so, and not being able and drifting away if you run out of fuel, or like space combat presents many different challenges that can't be treated the same way as air combat or water combat or land combat. So this is my idea of how a space fighter would be. And again, I designed this with a shitload of stuff in front of the pilot, so that if you do face incoming projectiles head on, they will have to go through like almost 2 meters of stuff before they actually get to you. So it would actually be advisable for a combat pilot to point his ship towards his enemy. Although, like, as a optimist, even though I am as a optimist, I figure that like space combat wouldn't really be necessary, hopefully, if we can maintain world peace. And I'm not sure how to accomplish that, but that is a off-topic topic. So yeah, this, again, like my last video about my design for a VTOL, the SketchUp file, the link to the SketchUp file will be provided. And any suggestions, any comments on what you think like realistic space combat might be in the future. I'm not sure, since like a space fighter would be necessary if you detect some kind of incoming thing, and you need a ship or something to get within range of it and interact with it to determine if you want to shoot it down. Like, since if you somehow had to mount missiles on your starbase and shoot at incoming dudes from your starbase, the missile would take time to get to it. So you have to have something nearing it first. So these things would act as missile boats for incoming projectiles that have to be destroyed or something. Even though that's a bit stupid, but yeah, basically. And these things would be easily defeated by a bit of course correction. So you have to it's also designed for anti-personnel combat, since these small machine guns should be able to pierce any regular spacesuit or something. Oh man, I didn't join this correctly. Whatever. So yeah, that's all I have for this video. If you liked it, do something. If you don't, do something else. And until next time, my name is Eric, and until next time, stuff happens.